Okay, welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into it. Today our mission is to decode the deep, almost quiet observation records of Tommy Yoshida or Yoshida Tsutomu. We're not just doing a run-of-the-mill breakdown of the latest tech trends here. No, we're looking at a deeply reflective record of how we're supposed to live in a world that's changing at light speed. The real focus today is lifelong learning and human judgment in the age of AI. We're getting right to the core of the challenges we all unconsciously face every single day.
But before we get too deep, I want to establish our core philosophy for this deep dive. We are absolutely not here to evaluate AI or give you a 5-step guide on prompt engineering or rush to any neat little conclusions. We're embracing unfinished thoughts. We're leaving pending questions exactly as they are. Why? Because we are squarely in a transition period. We're simply observing the interplay of language, technology, and human judgment, and we're going to sit with those thoughts together.
So let me introduce you to the main subject of these observation records, Tommy Yoshida. He's a digital strategist, and at 68 years old, he proudly calls himself a lifelong learner. You know, when we hear the word innovation, we usually picture some 20-something tech founder, right? Well, Tommy is completely redefining the senior era by tackling the great unknown of AI head-on. Just his sheer curiosity and mindset offer us so much to unpack.
And his exploration actually took a very tangible form when he entered the Kagawa Icon Business Idea Contest. I mean, applying for a startup pitch contest at 68, that's amazing. But his real catalyst wasn't about cashing in or seeking profit. It was a deeply practical attempt to answer a massive question. What does it actually mean to keep learning in this new technological era? What exactly is our role as humans now?
To understand his perspective, we really have to look at the fundamental paradox we're living in right now. Think about the past. We used to live in an era of information scarcity. Finding a specific fact was like wandering through a desert, hoping to find a single drop of water. The act of gathering information was incredibly valuable. But today, it's the exact opposite. The faucet is wide open, and we are literally drowning in an absolute ocean of data.
Because of that, the nature of the problem has totally flipped. We've got endless AI-generated content, social media just constantly screaming at us 24/7 news cycles. Access isn't the problem anymore. The real burden, the real struggle, especially for older adults, is the sheer exhaustion of evaluation. Trying to figure out what actually matters in a sea of noise is a heavy, heavy weight to carry.
There's a quote from his records that really captures this perfectly. The central challenge becomes, how do we decide what deserves our attention, trust, and action? Just let that sink in for a second. In a rapidly aging society, this is a seriously urgent anxiety. People are thinking, I'm interested, but it's overwhelming, or I'm terrified of being scammed because I don't know who to trust. It's not just a fear of new tech, it's a deep-seated anxiety about our own capacity to judge what's real.
So, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that the core value has completely shifted. Simply having information or being good at gathering it, that's just not a flex anymore. AI can do that instantly, processing more data in a second than we could in a lifetime. The real value has pivoted away from gathering and shifted entirely onto our human judgment.
Tommy articulated this beautifully when he wrote, "Today, judgment may be the scarcer resource." It's profound, right? The better AI gets at generating content, the rarer and more valuable our human capacity to evaluate it becomes. Your ability to look at something, discern its truth, and give it meaning, that is becoming your most powerful asset.
So what does this mean for our day-to-day lives? Well, it highlights the irreplaceable human role. AI does not, and probably cannot, eliminate the heavy burden of making choices. What information do you choose to look at? Who do you actually trust? How do you utilize this knowledge in your own life? AI can generate 1,000 options, but picking the one that truly matters, that's entirely on us.
This brings us to a concept Tommy is really passionate about: personal information governance. Now, I know information governance sounds like some rigid, boring corporate policy, but he frames it as a critical, everyday survival mindset, specifically for navigating the senior era. Having been a victim of an internet investment scam in the past, he knows firsthand that being able to critically judge the risks hiding behind convenient tech is literally a matter of survival.
And he took that survival mindset and turned it into the Kagawa Labo concept for his contest entry. The goal wasn't to pump out more news, it was to filter the noise, to curate essential AI insights, teach fraud prevention, and most importantly, share real, lived experiences. When AI can hallucinate incredibly convincing lies, sharing actual human experiences is what keeps us grounded in reality. It's a support system for human judgment. Okay, let's zoom out a bit and look at the deeper, philosophical side of this. We are talking about a massive cultural shift here. And as I mentioned at the start, these are unfinished thoughts. We're adapting to a completely new technological environment, and there are some huge unanswered questions we need to sit with.
Here is the first big question to ponder. How do individuals maintain the capacity for reflection in an environment optimized for speed? AI gives us answers instantly. Efficiency is maxed out. Waiting time is zero. But in that crushing wave of speed and data, where exactly is the quiet space left for us to just stop, breathe, and actually think deeply?
And that leads right into the next question. How does societies cultivate judgment when answers become instantly available? Historically, we learned by struggling, by researching, getting lost, making mistakes, and finally finding the answer. If that entire process is bypassed with a single prompt, how do we ever build the critical thinking skills our society desperately needs?
And here is the final, maybe most difficult paradox to wrestle with. How do we continue learning when experience itself is no longer enough to keep pace with change? Technology is advancing exponentially. The rules we learned yesterday might be totally useless tomorrow. Relying purely on past experience just doesn't work anymore.
Which makes Tommy's realization all the more powerful. He wrote, "At 68, I am still learning. That may be the most important lesson." For him, lifelong learning isn't just a hobby. It's not just figuring out how to use a new app. It's the core mechanism for preserving our human judgment. It's the attitude we need to stay anchored when the waves of information get rough.
So, in an era where information overflows and AI instantly hands you the answers, how will you use your judgment? What is your role in this massive technological transition? You don't need to have the answer right now. Just let that thought linger. Keep exploring those unfinished thoughts in your own everyday life. Thanks for diving into this explainer with us.